It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
To the program. Welcome back to the program. We have on the phone State Representative Mark Lowery is with us. He is from District 39. Mark, welcome back, sir.
Well, thank you, Paul. It's always a treat, especially getting to listen to that video. Thank you very much for starting off my Good Friday on a great note.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we that's one of the reasons, we want other people to essentially worship with us. You know what I mean? I mean that's really what this is. That's what this whole week is about, and especially the next couple of days. But hey, so Mark, tell us, District 39. District 39 is where geographically in Arkansas?
Well, it is primarily made up of the city of Maumelle, which is just outside of Little Rock, North Little Rock. But it also takes in some rural parts of Pulaski County, Oak Grove, Marche, Morgan, and then I've got one precinct over in North Little Rock just outside Camp Robinson. So it's a suburban district in central Arkansas.
All right. Well, so State Representative Mark Lowery, we were just talking with one of your colleagues, Kim Hammer, and he was on the program, and we were kind of talking about his work back when he was on the Joint Performance Review Committee with Senator Alan Clark, and I was looking at your committee assignments, and you're on the Joint Performance Review Committee now, and I was just curious, what kind of work are you guys doing right now on that committee?
Well, it's interesting that you talk with Kim, because I know Kim probably, as the House chair of JPR in the previous biennium, probably talked about a lot of their work related to foster care and DCFS and all that. Our JPR committee, I co-chair it with Senator Missy Irvin. We're looking at a lot of different other issues, and that's one of the intriguing things about JPR is that we can really go in so many different directions in looking at all state agencies, looking at all issues that are brought before us, and we're actually the only committee that can basically take complaints from the general public and address them, and even have people other than agency directors, deputy directors, and their staff testify before us. So we've been looking at, Senator Irvin and I are going to be conducting several meetings looking at school safety. We understand that the governor has the Blue Ribbon Commission on that, and we're certainly not going to step on the toes of that organization, but we feel like there's some areas that we can look at that will help supplement the work of the Blue Ribbon Commission. We also have been looking at and are going to bring back, we've been, obviously been interrupted a little bit by something called a fiscal session and a special session. But we've been looking at or addressing the concerns that have been put out there of UAMS contracting with Baptist Conway, yet not being open to also having similar contracts with Conway Regional or Arkansas Surgical Hospital. And so we feel like that really is an unfair, basically a thumb on the scale in terms of a state-funded organization like UAMS really entering into giving an unfair advantage to the private sector. We are also working with the review committee and looking at procurement law changes. And that meeting is going to be coming up April 19th, where we're getting a report from a consultant that's been looking at Arkansas procurement law. So we've got a lot of different things going on. It's perfect for someone like myself who has attention deficit disorder and doesn't want to spend a whole lot of time on just one issue. So we are able to bounce around.
Yeah. So I'm just curious. So what are some maybe examples, or what are the issues with current procurement procedure in your mind?
Well, one of the main thing, and I've already had a briefing of what the consultant is going to be bringing forth. That they've looked at best practices in other states and addressed the issue of whether we are meeting up to those best practices. One of the concerns I have had has been in the number of sole source contracts that we have been issuing without bid. That an agency, and sometimes it's done just by writing the procurement or the bid specification in such a way that there really is only, it's actually tailored for one vendor, and that's not good. One, it's unfair, it's unethical, but it also is not the best way for us to spend Arkansas state dollars. One of the other issues we're looking at is my concern about the use of requests for qualifications, or RFQs, rather than always RFPs. And the RFQs just look at the minimum qualifications of entity, and then they will decide that a vendor meets that RFQ, and then after the fact, they will negotiate the contract. So it tends to cut out newer companies that have maybe not had previous experience working for the state, because their qualifications don't stack up, mainly because they've not had the opportunity to stack up. And so I've asked about us lessening the number of issues where RFQs are used. And then there's really, it's going to be an extensive meeting. It's scheduled for April 19th. It's open to the public. We're going to be getting our first report our first full report from the consultant group, and they're going to look at what we do, whether it fits best practices, and what their recommendations are.
Yeah, well, I think that's good. I think a lot of people, a lot of people certainly want to make sure that their taxpayer dollars, when they are spent, with outside people, that it's that it's done as fair as possible. That's obviously the goal. The issue is, it's just kind of, it's with humans involved, it can be difficult to make sure that happens, and then we have some cases, Mark. I covered this story. This was back on November of last year, and it talked about this education company, Solution Tree, and how they got basically a no bid contract is what the Gazette described it as, like a no bid contract. And the reason is because they have this patent on this particular phrase of what they offer when it comes to group learning, and that particular phrase was put directly in a bill, and so that's how you give that. That's why this one company got the contract, because they can make the argument, well, no one else offers specifically what the law requires us to offer now. Did you follow that at all? Are you familiar with that?
Well, yes, I am. It's a pilot project, professional learning communities working within schools. And, if that is something that causes problems, it's one of the reasons why it's a pilot project. And if it shows some successes, then obviously the legislation could be written in such a way that we have a better, a competitive process for that. But from what I'm hearing right now, there are some amazing results coming from the work of Solution Tree and the various school districts that have applied to be able to be a part of this pilot.
Really? Well, I haven't. Yeah, I didn't know that. I just was reading what the Gazette was saying, last year about it. So we're talking with State Representative Mark Lowery. He's from District 39, rather. Now, Mark, tell us now. You don't have any Republican opposition in a primary, right? But you do have Democrat opposition, a Democrat opponent for the November election, right?
Well, I actually have two Democrats that will be running in the May primary, and so they're out there campaigning. Obviously, I'm making sure that they don't have the road and the street to themselves. So I'm also staying active in the community. Mm-hmm. Really not doing a whole lot more than I normally do. Going to a lot of civic meetings, and matter of fact, tonight I'll be introducing the keynote speaker at our the Rotary Club's annual Fire and Police Awards banquet that's held here in Maumelle, and it's a great opportunity to thank our first responders for the work that they've done in the previous years. And our keynote speaker tonight is going to be Cody Hyland, who is the newly appointed attorney from the U.S. District Court attorney for the Eastern District.
What are you hearing as far as like on the ground when you're campaigning and everything else? I mean, the mainstream media wants people to think, hey, there's a blue wave coming. Even though I did see a piece the other day nationally that was saying, hey, look, even CNN is quietly admitting that the polling is not looking as good for the Democrats as they thought it was going to be. But you never know; it's just a poll. I mean, what are you hearing on the ground? Or do you think the people of Arkansas are still wanting, conservative reforms, limited government, less taxes, less regulation, or do you think that they want to, are going to vote for Democrats, who want higher taxes? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think getting to your specific point that of whether people want to vote for representatives who are for higher taxes, I would say adamantly no. That is not something that the electorate is going to shift towards. Now, however, I think one of the things that we'll have to really caution the electorate of is to not be attracted to the nice, bright, shiny thing that comes along next. And I think that's there's some strong candidates the Democratic Party has put out there, but the electorate really needs to look at, especially in the case where there are incumbents, look at the service that incumbent has provided, the leadership. I posted on Facebook recently that there is a significance to the seniority system. It doesn't just mean that just because I'm high seniority, that just means I've got grayer hair. It really gives me an opportunity to best represent not only the people of the state of Arkansas, but the people of my district. And so I would put up my record of doing that, representing my district. I don't think that there's going to be a significant blue wave. I think it's going to come. All politics is local, and it's really going to come down to who best can serve their district. And in my case, I'm very proud to put up the record that I have, especially on key issues like voter ID, on school choice, protecting the pro-life position, and even strengthening the pro-life position, policy position that Arkansas has. And then it just on and on.
State Representative Mark Lowery, I really appreciate you coming on the program, and I'd love to do it again sometime soon.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to come in.
All righty. Okay. Be safe. Have a great weekend. Folks, we're going to take a break. It is Johnny Cash Friday. Good